What is up, guys? Welcome on back to TK's Garage. And yes, we've had a busy day with uploads, with me kind of being trapped on my couch. um, Gives me more time to do more research, dig in, and cut more content for you guys. Not like this is a blessing or anything. It's not. This knee thing sucks, but hey, we're dealing with it. In today's video, I'm giving you an update on where we're at on three important CRAs, that's Congressional Review Acts, and I'm giving you an update on the CARS Act and the Freedom, I was going to say the Freedom of Information Act, the Transportation Freedom Act. So without further ado, let's roll the intro. So what is up, guys? Welcome on back to TK's Garage, and it's been a busy day for news, man. There's so much. I couldn't even cover everything today, and this is why I said I might have some guest people coming on during the week, especially if I end up having to go under the knife here in a couple of days. So stay tuned for that. You guys know who the people will be. It'll be Dizzle in Motion or Butter the Insider or OC Motivator. Somebody like that might come in and drop a video or two here on the channel, so stay tuned for that. But so I've talked about this in length. I've covered multiple Congressional Review Acts. More and more keep getting dropped. We have one get dropped from Alaska and Nebraska's senator on the 20th, I believe. I believe it started making news around the 21st of March. And that one seems to be progressing faster than everything else that I've been seeing. Now, granted, that is the Senate. When it gets to the House, they just need a simple majority. But I'm not the only YouTuber that deals in the car space in terms of news that's asking questions about this. I got to ask at this point, what's the holdup? Is there a special interest? Is there somebody spending money in the Republican Party that doesn't want to see these emission standards or, DEF or diesel particulate filters go away on trucks? I'm wondering at this point, because there's so many different pieces of legislation. Like, I'll give you an example. We'll talk about the Transportation Freedom Act, right? That was proposed, right? It was read in, and then it went to committee, right? It looked like multiple people on the committee on both sides of the aisle were willing to vote for this thing, but they never brought it up for a vote yet for committee to get it out of committee and put it to the floor. Like, here's the thing. They don't need Chuck Schumer's help in the Senate. I don't know if anybody knows this. They just need a simple majority. And they have the vice president to come in and break a tie, because we know Mitch McConnell is basically retarded at this point. So, worst case scenario, you have the vice president, J.D. Vance, come in and break that tie and pass it. And then it goes to the House, where it just takes a simple majority to pass there. So my question at this point is, like, why hasn't the Transportation Freedom Act, which got a lot of attention, even made it out of committee? This should be simple. Like, this is how you know, like, when there's funny business going on, because when it came to drilling, methane gas emissions, other stuff that would deal with fracking or drilling for oil, you know how fast those Congressional Review Acts got passed? Like this. They got passed in the House and the Senate so fast that when I did, people were like, nah, they haven't passed any CRAs yet. They've been passed like 5 days, and it just went right through and nobody knew, right? It's also a very interesting thing when we see stuff like the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act and how it's bipartisan in the House. Basically, a dum-dum Republican from California and a dum-dum from New York, with two Democrats from California, and I forget what the other one was from. Hawaii, maybe? I don't remember. But they, proposed to try to renew this Diesel Emissions Reduction Act, right? They tried to slide that in. It was very interesting. And this is how you can tell, like, when policy is trying to be made, when they're trying to not let the public know what's going on. Because you didn't see a lot of major media coverage on the fact that they were trying to renew the Diesel Emission Reductions Act. Why do you think that is? Well, they didn't want the public to know that that was coming up. Thankfully, we had a bunch of dumbasses that also do YouTube videos and purportedly are diesel-friendly channels or truck channels. 7 at this point that I counted that made different videos on it and had experts or other people on, and they were in favor of this. And I'm literally like, really, bro? Seriously? You're in favor of getting rid of reliable diesel engines that put out less emissions because they get better mileage, they use less fuel, they have less waste and downtime where they're being tore up, less hurt on the environment overall over their lifetime than this newer crap. And you want to vote for something for grants for taxpayer money to replace reliable diesel engines. Yeah, no, I'm not for that. So we pushed that, and a lot of you guys called your congressmen and senators, and it's really funny what happened in California when a lot of people started calling that congressman's office. I don't know if he's so sure he wants to be a part of that bill anymore. It's amazing how it happens when the public starts finding out what's going through Congress and people start making phone calls. Shocker. But anywho's, that's not going anywhere. We reached out to the White House press secretary's office, and they have a multitude of people that can respond to, YouTubers, TikTokers, all that stuff. And we did apply for a press pass, believe it or not. I'm going through that process. I thought I would have been turned down already, but I'm not. So I might be going to DC to cover a few things at the White House. So stay tuned for that. But what I found interesting was the response was, no, the EPA administrator froze that on day one when he came in, and he did. He froze a bunch of stuff, and one of those was the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act, right? So their press person was basically like, and not the main press secretary, they got like 50, 60 something people that answer emails and questions for comment all day. And the response was, if it went to the president's desk, he would veto it. Bang. All right, so we know we good there, right? I still don't trust everything, but I feel a little bit stronger about that not passing at this point. And now we have these other CRAs that have been pending, right? Lee Zeldin put these up for Congress to decide this a while ago. And now, we got the CARS Act that gets reintroduced. And this is not the CARS Act that has to deal with car sales and getting screwed over by dealers. It's not the same act. This is like freedom of choice of vehicles, which basically a lot of these CRAs, as well as the Transportation Freedom Act and many more congressional review acts, pull the authority for California to set emissions, meaning they will have to follow the same federal emissions that everybody else does in the country. Everybody will be on one damn standard, and that's it. California doesn't like that. They talked about suing, and they were going to do this, that, and the other, and it was private. It's funny what happens, right? These NGOs were like, we're going to sue, but they didn't. They haven't. You want to know why? There's no money. CARB was giving money to a lot of these NGOs for a lot of this Mickey Mouse stuff. I covered this in detail. CARB was at $2.6 billion, right? In grants and money that it was giving out. Only for it to go from, end of 2024 going into 2025, 35 million is that budget now. That's a big cut. Wonder what happened there. So now there's questions and there's stuff coming out about them being insolvent. Yes, if the government pulls that funding and the EPA shuts that down and they don't have any federal funding to back any of that Mickey Mouse crap, and then the federal government makes it illegal for them to do that, they're going to cease to exist. So where we're at as of today, today's date is March 24th at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, is we're still waiting on 5 different CRAs that would do exactly the things that we want. We're waiting on the CARS Act. We're waiting on the Transportation Freedom Act. And all of these can be tracked in Congress. What's interesting about this is some of these, like some of these CRAs that deal with tailpipe emissions, have already passed the House. Now they're just at the Senate. Or, you know, one of the CRAs in the Senate has passed and it just has to pass, the Senate passed and it just has to pass the House. And they're like going both ways. So all they need to do is, okay, let's take this one, let's take this one, put them together, kill all those rules from the EPA. They can never be reinstituted again, and we can keep it moving. We just need one of these to go through, specifically dealing with tailpipe emissions. A lot of the other stuff with emissions was already knocked down in an EPA Congressional Review Act that had to deal with tire manufacturing. But if you read the statutes, the Code of Federal Regulations and other stuff that they put in that Congressional Review Act, it also covers other types of emissions. It could be construed that it covers particulates from diesel engines. And you've probably seen a couple of different attorneys or other people on diesel channels here in the last 2 days actually talking about that, because now there's arguments from some of the bigger semi-truck companies or, you know, transport companies that move freight back and forth across the country of how can we get back to some common sense freight and common sense tractor decisions so we can move this freight back and forth across the country without having to be on this 2027 standard that is a disaster. Yeah. So there's going to be more news coming this week. It is early. Like I said, we got the entire week ahead of us, and I think we're going to have some major news dropping this week because a couple of reasons why. You guys have been putting the pressure on your senators and your congressmen. If you want this stuff to happen and you want it to go through, it's the best way you can make it happen. Yes, they listen to special interests. Yes, they take the bag. Yes, damn, this like it's killing me. Yes, they get money. And they do listen to the people that pay money. But they also listen to the people that vote. And you'll be surprised. 10, 15 people call in. They count that as like hundreds of people for every call. And when they get multiple people calling for the same thing, it doesn't happen every day in Congress. So they listen, they pay attention. They might push harder to get something through to say like, hey, look, I did what you guys wanted. So pay attention to the ball. That's the best thing I can tell you. But stay tuned. We will be doing an update here sometime this week. If anything breaks, if something passes the House, the Senate, if anything gets to the president's desk, we're going to talk about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Give the video a big thumbs up if you like what I do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you want to see the California Air Resource Board go bankrupt and get up out of here so we can all have a simple standard on all vehicles, smash that thumbs up button like it was disrespectful. And until next time, as always, stay petty, my friends.